All right, so again, thanks everybody for attending today. It's great to see such a full house today as well. A lot of customers of ours, a lot of customers of Scouts, and a lot of people that we've been speaking with who are looking at a recruitment and onboarding solution. And I guess what we're keen to do today is show you the products with Scout and HROnboard, what they can offer as best of breed solutions, being the best of what they do, and more importantly, how we work together to provide a solution that can deal with onboarding and recruitment in an integrated fashion. So just a bit of housekeeping for today, and throughout the process you'll be able to ask questions and they'll pop up on our screen so that we can answer them. We will probably leave answering questions until the end of the webinar, but if you do have questions, you'll see there's a little Q&A button at the top of your screen. Just click on that and you can pop your question in there, and we'll get to that when we can. And even if we can't get to it throughout the webinar, we'll make sure to get to you afterwards as well. So let's talk about our presenters today. So there's myself, I'm Tim Cincotta. I am from HROnboard, and that's me in a German Christmas market where I'll be back in 2 weeks' time enjoying the cold weather away from summer. But I've been with HROnboard now for a little over 2 years, and my background prior to joining was in recruitment systems, recruitment advertising, and actually a bit of time as a recruitment consultant as well. So it's been a great journey being with HROnboard and seeing the company and the product grow so rapidly over the last 2 years. And you know, being able to have form partnerships and friendships with the likes of Scout. And my co-host today is Mal Douthit. So I'll pass over to Mal to introduce yourself, Mal, and what I'll do is I'll hand over to you to start talking about Scout from there.
Great, thanks a lot, Tim. Similar to yourself, I've been with our business for coming up to 4 years now. Beginning off in kind of a recruitment consultancy type role, then moving into recruitment advertising for a few years, and now heading up the sales team for the software side of our business, which is Scout. It's always been focused on recruitment, and more recently very much on recruitment systems and process. Now, here at Scout, I think it's important to say at the beginning that we've got a vision to create beautiful recruitment technology that solves problems, but more importantly, that doesn't create new problems. Now, if we can move on to the next slide, and I will attempt to move through these pretty quickly. I'd much rather be showing you how Scout will work rather than looking at PowerPoint slides. But whether your problem's a paper-based requisition process, getting candidates to respond to your selection criteria, maybe it's visibility into the recruitment process across multiple sites, or even key recruitment metrics, we'll have an elegant solution for your business. Now, a little bit about Scout. We were established in 2004, and we currently have more than 7,500 active users worldwide. Our global head office is based here in Brisbane, and we also have satellite offices in Melbourne, Adelaide, Vancouver, and Toronto. We've got clients using the solution on every continent, and additionally, we're the recruitment technology of choice for leading brands across multiple vertical channels. You'll know you're in good company when you join the Scout family. Now, if we want to talk just a little bit about the commonalities of our clients, with such a diverse client base, both in terms of size as well as industry, it was important for the Scout team to understand what was in common there. And what we found is that our clients were focused on engagement, and they weren't focused on the candidate experience. Funnily enough, I believe it's safe to say that our philosophy of candidate engagement is very much in line with the core design philosophies of HROnboard as well. One of the other commonalities that we found was that there was a need for a collaborative workspace that created efficiencies for both the hiring managers as well as the HR or the recruitment function. Now, Tim, if it's okay, I'll have you go ahead and pass control over to me here in Brisbane, and we'll go through and do a little look at Scout.
No worries at all. We're just handing that over to you now. So just shout out when you've got that.
I think we are all on board.
Yeah, we are. Beautiful.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
No worries.
Now, candidate engagement It begins, or rather it should begin at the point of application. This is your first opportunity to build engagement with your prospective candidates, which in turn leads to more engaged employees and better outcomes for your organization. When we bring a new client on board, we mobilize our implementation project team, and one of the first points of action is to design and build that branded application process. There's a number of different ways in which that can be achieved, but the outcome's always going to be that our clients have beautiful application pages that kickstart excitement on the candidate's side. Now, the core application process for candidates involves submitting contact details and answering a series of screening questions. It's important to note that candidates don't have to register or log in at this point. That can actually function as a barrier to application, especially if we're talking about candidates applying via mobile devices. Now, the screening questions are configurable on a job-by-job basis, and they'll often eliminate the need to even open a resume up. But at the very least, they're going to render that resume a supporting document, not the be-all and end-all of your screening process. The ability to rate and rank the candidates based on their responses to your questions speeds up that screening process significantly. And if you're looking to speed it up even more, you can set up automatic status changes based on the responses. It's quick and easy to knock candidates out or even flag the strong ones. Let's go ahead and click into SCOUT and take a look at our home dashboard. Now, we're looking at SCOUT within the admin or the recruiter view at this point. This page provides you with a top-down overview of any recruitment-related activity that's going on across your organization. If we break the page down, the calendar on the right is linked to the interview scheduling functionality within SCOUT, and it's going to integrate with your Outlook or your Google Calendar. The main workspace in the middle of the screen is broken down into your events, your tasks, and your open applications, while the menu bar on the left will take you to each module within SCOUT. From an end-user perspective, the recruitment process typically begins with a requisition or approval form. Within SCOUT, hiring managers are able to log in and submit an approval form to the relevant leaders within your business. We'll take your paper-based recruitment request forms and replicate them within SCOUT. Once that form's been submitted, SCOUT's going to go ahead and workflow the document via email to the first approver. They can approve or decline the request via their email as well. No need to log into SCOUT to do that, and keep that process rolling. Now, once all the approvals have been gained, that final notification comes to the HR team, and it's ready to go to market and create a job. Now, we're going to go ahead and go back to our Home tab and then click into a job to have a look at a template. Job creation in SCOUT is handled via these templates, and during the implementation process, we'll make sure that you've got some master templates to start out with. Once you've decided upon the right one to clone, it's just a matter of, once you've decided on the job that you'd like to advertise, it's just a matter of hitting the clone button, making any edits that you feel are necessary, and hitting publish. Once you've hit the publish button, the vacancy is immediately going to appear on your career site and be open for applications. Now, I think what we'll do now is go ahead and take a look at candidates and how you manage candidates within SCOUT. Again, we're going to break this screen down into its component parts. The bulk administration tools can be found along the top. Those are going to include bulk email, bulk SMS, interview scheduling, as well as document collation via some PDF exporting. Below those bulk administration tools, you'll see some filters for sorting the candidates in your talent pool. And below that, we'll see all of the candidates that have applied for our role. Now, you'll notice that each candidate either has a green or a red icon next to their name. This is an indicator of their history within SCOUT. If the candidate has that green icon, it's their first time to apply for a role with your organization, while the red icon indicates that there is some history there. It could potentially be a duplicate application in the same job, or it may be one of your dreaded serial appliers. Now, if you want to drill down into that history, it's just a couple of clicks to the candidate's full track record in SCOUT, including an audit trail of any activity taken against their applications across your organization. Our other main points of reference on this page are our rating and status columns. Now, we're going to click into an application and take a look. We'll click on myself here. Now, we can see that I'm currently sitting in the default status of open, and that's indicating to me that I've not been screened yet. If we wanted to assess the application, we're able to rate the candidate's responses to screening questions, and that'll then determine a percentage score. If the candidate is acceptable for progressing to the next stage, then we're probably going to want to interview them. The interview guides are going to be stored within the Forms button below, and you'll be able to conduct that interview and make your notes from within the system. If you've actually had some trouble arranging a mutually agreeable time for that interview to take place, you can simply send an invitation with your availability out of SCOUT, and then the onus is on the candidate to choose that date. Now, I think that the reason that we're all here is actually to see how we'll seamlessly transition our preferred candidate out of this recruitment environment and into the onboarding environment. It's really easy to do. We're just going to click this export button, confirm that that is the right mobile number, and select our start date. We'll go ahead and do the 30th of November here and submit that. And now when Tim comes into his solution, he'll be able to show us that candidate progressing along the way. I'm just going to hand back over to you, Tim.
Fantastic. All right, so let's talk about HROnboard and a bit about our background, and then I'm going to show you where we've sort of picked up from where Mal has left off there. And HROnboard, I just want to talk a bit about our amazing customers, and it's important to note as well our roots and where we've come from. So HROnboard is owned by a company called Navigo, and Navigo has been established in the HR tech market in Australia for a little over 12 years now, and built a really strong reputation as around our customer service and delivery of what we do. Some of you may be familiar with Navigo as the resellers and supporters of a product called Org Plus, or Planning at Work, here in the Australian market. HROnboard is actually owned and developed by Navigo here in Australia in our office in Melbourne. And again, Mal talked about with SCOUT being a good company, with HROnboard much the same. There are some fantastic companies using our tools and service, and there's quite a few of those that are actually using SCOUT as well. We do have several shared customers. So let's talk about HROnboard and what we look to do. The first step is to cut down on administration, all right? And what we really want to do there is, I guess, cut that time that it takes to put together a new offer, but we also want to engage in new hires, all right? And so that when they come in on day one, they're all ready to go. Plus, there's also that level of engagement early on. So where HROnboard fits is pretty simple. We fit between your recruitment system and your payroll system. So in this case, we're between SCOUT and whatever payroll system that you want to use. So SCOUT has pushed the information out to us now. We now need to put together a contract and offer. We need to review and accept that offer, and we need to go through a new hire pre-induction, provisioning and processing before we collect all of this information to push into our payroll system. Okay? And we do run integration with several payroll systems throughout Australia, which are currently working quite well. So traditional onboarding challenges that we look to tackle with HROnboard: the manual offer preparation. So that includes the time that it takes to post an offer to a new hire. Process inefficiency, and what I'm referring to there is manual keying and paper-based processing. All right. So when we're putting offers together, if we're going through and manually keying and then we're slapping a lot of paperwork together and putting it in an envelope and sending it out, it's going to lead to errors because there's no consistency in the way we're doing things. Or if there is consistency, it's far too prone to human error. People not being ready for day one is probably one that we come across far too often. And that's when a candidate walks in on day, well, new employee, I should say, walks in on day one and they haven't got a computer set up, or they don't have a uniform or a security pass. We're not ready for them to come in on day one. And what we need to think about there is the poor candidate experience. What impression does that leave on somebody when they start on day one about the organisation of the company that they've just joined? The other thing is from a candidate experience is we want to talk about, we talk about the great process that they go through when they're applying for a job through the likes of SCOUT. Okay, they've managed that whole process online. It's been really efficient. It's been a great interview process and getting to know each other. Here's your job, and then here's an envelope full of paperwork to fill out. That's a real sort of throwing cold water, a bucket of cold water on the excitement of having a new job. So what we want to do is try and combat that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to have a look at HROnboard. And we're going to pick up, as I said, from where Mal left off, and I'm going to log in as Rick. And Rick is the recruitment manager at Marin Company. Now when Rick logs in, we can see here that we have a dashboard. Okay, and in this dashboard we have all of our current offers that we have, our exits and incomplete tasks. Now these tasks will all sort of make sense as we go through shortly, but what we can see here is that we've got a list of offers. So where we've had forms submitted, where we need to prepare an offer. Now, what's going to happen is when we get an offer from SCOUT, we can see here that Mal's details are put through and we need to complete this offer now. Okay, so we now have a prepare offer. So Mal, your details are pulled through, your address, your email, your mobile phone, and your business development manager role. So it's come through quite nicely there. Now, what you'll also notice here is that we have employment details. Now, within HROnboard's enterprise product, we have what we call a smart contract builder. And what we do is we actually take your employment contracts. A lot of people at the moment will run Word documents which have got a whole lot of yellow highlighted sections where we need to go in and make chops and changes. HROnboard can actually do that for you here, okay? So rather than doing that in the Word document, we can go through and make these adjustments. And we can actually set logic in place so that the different fields will fill out depending on the circumstances with this particular role. Okay, so what we find is that while some people may have 10 employment contracts, because of the logic and the variations that we can make, we can get that down to 4 or 5 in some cases, okay? So, Mal, if we're going to make you full-time BDM. I'm going to make you the best paid BDM floating around in Australia, so I'll put you on 300,000 just to be generous. And as we scroll through, we can see here that I've got some contract-specific items. Now, I just want to point out that every company's setup at this stage looks completely different. All right, and just note there that I've clicked on employee medical check required and credit check required. What I'm going to do is save and continue, and that'll take me through to the next step. So on this next step, we can see there that I've got the PDF document that I can download, and this will be Mal's employment contract that I can review. Now, all the variations that I've just made will be highlighted in blue, and that way during the review process I can actually just make quick reference to those changes. So for instance, we added a health check and a credit check as clauses, so they've been added in blue. And as I scroll through the employment contract, I can see that those clauses have been added. And then as I scroll down to the final page here, we can see that we've got our schedule, which has got all the action, the different stages in blue. Okay. So once we're happy with that, we can also upload any additional contract files. You may want to upload position description, EBAs, that sort of thing as well. We can do that. Policy documents. So in this case, we have it set out that an internet usage policy document is required. What we will do is work with organisations to have their policies set out as required, and we can even put logic in place that defines what policies will go out depending on the type of role. Likewise with supporting information, okay? So in this case, we have a company profile, employee handbook, fair work information statement. Anything else that you may require or anything that you require in general can be popped in here. And if we do need to upload anything extra, we can do so at this stage too. We're going to now continue to the next page and we come to tasks. So you may have seen before that Rick had a whole lot of tasks assigned to him to complete. Task management is a relatively new feature within HROnboard and one that's serving us quite well and our customers are absolutely loving at the moment. So tasks allow us to assign tasks to the new employee and also back office tasks to various users within the organisation. Now what this means is that when Mal starts, he will get a task list to carry out. All right. So due before day one, Mal needs to complete our privacy course, and here is a link. This is hyperlinked so that Mal can go in and do that. Mal can also watch a training video, and Mal, we also want him to upload his LinkedIn profile. Back office wise, we need Rick to set up IT accounts and organise PC and desk equipment. Okay? What we can also do is we can set out tasks based on the types of roles. Okay? So we might have a set task list for blue collar roles or default roles. Whatever the situation is, you have complete administrative control over setting up what tasks you want to be carried out and how you want them to be carried out and by who and where and when. Okay? We also have a button there that says send for review. Now within HROnboard, you can have up to 3 levels of review before a contract gets sent out to a new employee. Okay? So in this case, we would have this sent directly to the line manager. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit send for review. I'm actually going to override it here just so we can sort of move through things pretty quickly. Also, you can set security levels so that not everybody can override for obvious reasons. And we'll just say we're doing it that way, so we'll click override. And that'll register that. Fantastic. So that has gone through now to offer being sent. And Mal, you should receive a text message. There you go. Beautiful.
Thanks,
and Mal, if I can get you to read that text message.
Sure. It says, congratulations, Malachi. We are pleased to offer you employment at the Marin Co. Please check your email for a link to review and accept your offer.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Mal. So Rick has done his part. He sent the offer out. We're now going to log out as Rick. And if we go in here, we can actually see that we have an email with an employment offer from the Marin Company. And congratulations, Mal. Would like to offer the position of Business Development Manager at the Marin Company starting on the 30th of November 2015. We can click here to view our offer. And what it's going to ask us to do is to set a password. All right, so once we've set that password, we come into this secure portal. And I like to refer to this as opening the envelope, all right? So this replaces the current process where an employee will get a manila envelope with a whole lot of paperwork, or they'll get an email with a whole lot of attachments that then they need to download and print out and sign and send back. Either way, this is a lot better. So what you'll notice there is we've got the Marin Company branding up at the top there. So start to picture what your company could do there and what that could look like and how this is going to make a new employee feel when they join. A little welcome message from the team and the ability to download your contract there. We've got a step-by-step guide here on the left on what we're going to do and what we're going to go through to accept the offer today. If you've got any questions, you may remember Rick, who put together the offer in the first place. We've got a little picture of Rick there, and we can either give Rick a call or we can type in a question. So let's just say Mel has a question. I want more money. He can send that off, and that'll actually send an email off to Rick. Okay, and Rick can respond to that. We'll also see there that we've got a little video, why work at the Marin Company, all right? And that can be just a little welcome induction video. It might be a recruitment video that you have floating around, or it may be some organisations will put an iPhone in the face of the CEO and record a welcome message. It's a nice little touch there. Either way, it's a really great little welcome. Supporting information, we've got the company profile, employee handbook, fair work information statement, and then people you may know at Marin Company. Now, what this has done within HROnboard is it's picked up the cookies on my computer that show my LinkedIn profile. All right, and it's picked up my LinkedIn profile and shows me people who I know at Navigo. Now, remember before I mentioned Navigo is the parent company of HROnboard, so there's a few of my fantastic colleagues. When we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see there that if we're happy to proceed, we can proceed to the next step, or if we want to decline the offer for whatever reason, a pop-up box will come in where we need to enter in a reason why we are rejecting the offer. When we hit decline, we will be disabled from the offer, and it's up to Rick, our recruitment manager, as to whether or not we want to reinstate this offer. But we're going to proceed to the next step in this case. So, when accepting a job offer, we have a heap of forms and documents: tax, super, banking, fair work, personal details, emergency contacts, all right? Typically, this will require name, address, date of birth, phone number again and again and again. Now, we already have this. We got this in the recruitment process through SCOUT, so this person will not have to go through and enter anything again. All they need to do is verify the information. So, Mel, we've got your details right there. If we've got a preferred name, I'm going to go with Mel. If we've got a date of birth, I'm going to make today your birthday, Mel. Happy birthday.
Thanks, Tim.
21 today. No worries, mate. 79 Maroondah Highway, so there's your offer. Well, that's our office address, but we'll leave that as your home address for the moment. We've got your mobile number. That's great. We've got your emergency contact details we can add in here. Now, we can have multiple emergency contacts if we require and different information. And that's important to point out with HROnboard as well, is that we collect the information you require. This is just an example of the sorts of information and detail that we get as a standard anyway. Okay? And you may have additional forms that you need to have filled out by new employees when they get started. Banking details. So, Mel, we're going to stick you with Westpac, first bank that comes to mind. And we'll enter in this. Now, if you need multiple bank accounts, we can do multiple bank accounts as well. And we'll hit save and continue. Work right status. Now, this is something that we have within HROnboard, and we can either switch it on or switch it off. You may have noticed that in SCOUT you have this function already, so you may not want to have it on in HROnboard. That's up to you if you do. But if you do want it on, if we are an Australian or New Zealand citizen, we can proceed, and we can also upload our documents if we want. If we have a visa to work in Australia, it'll ask us for a country passport number, and to give permission to view entitlements on the Vivo. In this case, though, we're going to go with Australian citizen, and we'll click save and continue. And now we come through to offer policy and acceptance. So the offer policy and acceptance is where we need to obviously approve our documentation at this stage. Now, it's important to point out that this offer acceptance stage can be before or after we collect the tax and super, which you'll see here on the left-hand corner. All right. So at the moment we have it before tax and super. All right. Each company has a separate preference as how that works. Now, you notice here I agree to the terms of the employment contract. I can't click on that because I haven't downloaded. Once I download this contract, I can actually accept it. And that will record in an audit trail as to each step that we've taken, okay? And it'll record exactly when we've downloaded and accepted this. Likewise with my internet usage policy. Once I've done that, I'll click accept and continue, and I'm going to have a 6-digit verification code sent out via mobile to the original mobile phone that we used before. So Mal, I'll get you to read that code to me that's just come through.
Yeah, sure. That's 617570.
Fantastic. 617570. We'll click continue. And that'll say, thanks for accepting your offer. We now need you to complete a couple of forms. So we've got now a tax file declaration, okay? And what you can see here is this is a really simple step-by-step guide on what we need to do to complete a tax file form. So if I don't have a tax file number, it's going to ask me for an exemption clause. Otherwise, I'll just enter in my code. Now, I should mention as well that we actually validate tax file numbers, all right? So that if it's not a valid tax file number, we can't move ahead. What you'll also notice is that these little asterisks are along the way, which means we have to complete these fields. So if I leave a field incomplete, it's not going to let me proceed to the next step, okay? And that's a fun part for payroll. Payroll love this system because they're not having to chase up documents and missing information, especially in tax and super. So we'll declare that this information is correct, and then we'll save and continue. And we now come through here to the super choice form, okay? So we've got here our default fund is Vic Super, okay, and we've got a link there to the Vic Super website. Whatever your default fund is, we'll put in the links to your super fund. And then we've also got their Use Super Choice details. So ASIC's MoneySaver, Money Smart website, so their details there as well. For your choice of super fund, if you want to go with the default super fund for your employer, we have all of the information we require, okay? We don't need to collect your tax file, we don't need to collect your personal details because we've already got that and that'll populate that form for you. And that's what I mean about not duplicating any information. If you want to go with your own default fund, you'll need to complete this information, and again, all these little asterisks mean that that information must be complete, including your SPIN and your USI and details of your fund, and you'll also need to attach your documents, or you can attach your documents here. Okay? Just in the interest of saving time and moving through though, we're going to go with our default super fund and save and submit. Once we've completed this, we'll come through here. Congratulations, Malachi, you successfully provided all necessary information. And here is your details of your first day and next steps. All right, so we've got a little map here on how to get from our house to the office, which is a nice little touch. We've got here next steps around any training details. Follow us on LinkedIn. Share the news, so you can jump on and share the news on different social media networks if you like. And you'll also notice here My Tasks. So that if, Mel, you need to watch a training video, we can click here to grab details straight through to the training video. Great. And then what we can do is we can mark that task is complete. Okay? And once you've updated your LinkedIn profile, again, we can mark that task as complete. If we want any further details of our offer, including our employment contract, we can log back in at any time. Now, this is a secure portal for the new employee to jump back into. So we can log in and get details of this contract, and within our module, which is crossboarding, we can send contracts and updates to existing staff members. They can log in here and get details of all of their offers and contracts that they've accepted over time at this particular stage. Okay? From here, it's pretty simple. That information is being collected now, and we'll go through to payroll. And I mentioned before, we do have various integrations to payroll systems, and I'm happy to talk with companies about that on a case-by-case basis as to what would work best for them. So, what I'd like to do now is, I guess, wrap things up from there, because that's a bit about HR on Board, what we do, about our integration with SCOUT, and more about SCOUT as well. So what I'd like to do from here, unless Mal, you've got anything further you'd like to add, is throw it open for questions.
No, that's great. Thanks, Tim.
No worries. So if you do have any questions, feel free, as I said, in that Q&A box. And we've got one question here for SCOUT at the moment. Mal, I'll read this one out to you. Mm-hmm. Does your system link with job boards when you're posting ads?
Yeah, sure. So we have integration with Seek kind of across all three levels there. Also full integration with leading job distribution tools like Broadbean. Yep. So absolutely, you're able to edit, send out your ads, and track your advertising source performance as well within SCOUT. Fantastic.
Another question, and this is one I get asked a lot, Mel, I'm sure you do too. Where is our data stored?
Yeah, that's a pretty common question. All of the SCOUT's data is stored in AWS or Amazon Web Services data center in Sydney, so it stays onshore at all times.
That's where ours is stored too. Stays onshore and in the same data center. So I'm sure our servers are partying at night and handing information over to each other and having a great time there in the data center. So no, it's good. And AWS is an ISO certified data center as well, so it's quite secure, well, as secure as you can get. How many, we've got here. So, what is required for existing clients of both products to enable the link for integration?
Sure.
That's a good question.
So that is a good question. As soon as this is over, I'll be ringing any of our shared clients. I think there's 6 or 7 at this point.
Yep.
And walking through the next steps to flip it on. Should be able to have it turned on by the end of the day or by tomorrow.
Yes, yeah, fantastic. So just as a heads up there, we have 6 or 7 shared customers, and we're currently going through that now with those customers on a case-by-case basis, getting that set up and running. But as you saw there through the demonstration, we've got that integration working quite smoothly and quite nicely. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done a live demo of it. There's a whole lot of questions up there. There's a couple here which we'll sort of answer on a case-by-case basis afterwards because they're from joint customers of ours. Let's just see. Have you had experience with volume recruitment, 1,000 plus, and adding additional documents during the offer process, certifications, etc.? Did you want to take this one, or do you want me to take that one first?
Well, I guess in terms of volume recruitment and the ability of SCOUT to manage that process, it's probably one of its key strengths in that if you're collecting the answers to the questions you need to know to make a screening assessment or a judgment, you're able to move through candidates. So, I guess a 10-minute peruse of a resume turns into a 1-minute quick screen. Clients like Flight Center recruit at such volumes that they actually wouldn't be able to do their job without SCOUT in there helping them to get those candidates through the process.
Yeah, and they're doing considerably large amounts of recruitment every month, aren't they? Between
100 and 200 vacancies a month, I'd say.
Yep. And from a HR
200,000 applications a year.
Yep. From a HR on board point of view, this person, John, asks about up to 1,000 in a week. Yep, we've actually experienced that ourselves with a couple of our customers, doing 1,000 in a very short space of time. The other thing which you've asked there, John, is about adding additional documents during the offer process, and that is something that you can absolutely do with HR on board. That when somebody is accepting an offer, that you need people to attach documents around it. May be certifications, it may be licenses, and you saw there as one example when somebody needed to prove their citizenship, they could upload their citizenship certificate or passport, or a copy of their passport. So that's just as easy as switching that on for whatever the customer requires, and something that we do for a lot of our customers right now. Just seeing if we've got any other questions there at the moment. No, we've got a few other questions there, but just because of time constraints, what I'll do is I'll actually make a note of these other ones here, which are probably best to discuss with yourself, Mel, afterwards, and us afterwards, and we'll go from there. So, look, thanks to everybody for your attendance today. We really appreciate it. What we're going to do is shortly there will be a recording available. Oh, hang on a minute. I've got one more here for you quickly, Mel, which is a really quick one. Is there an ability to search the candidate for SCOUT?
Sorry, say that again, Tim?
Is there an ability to search the candidate?
Yeah, actually, it's a really interesting question. Right now, the search functionality within SCOUT is focused on the responses to the screening questions, but our development team in the current sprint, which should be done in the next week or so, are actually indexing the entirety of the database and building a search API, which will mean that, it'll be very, very advanced search functionality across the entirety of the candidate data that comes through.
Fantastic. All right. Well, look, thanks again for that. And look, we'll wrap it up from there. And like I said, there's quite a few there questions to work through, which probably require a bit more detailed explanation on a case-by-case basis. So we'll contact those people individually. Other than that, like, as I mentioned, we'll have a recording of this webinar. We'll have a recording of this webinar ready and available to view, if not this afternoon, then probably tomorrow. And we'll send it out to everybody that's attended today, but also everybody that registered that didn't get a chance to attend. So again, thanks again, everybody. It was great to see such a massive turnout and so many people interested in seeing how these two systems work together. And we'll be in touch with everybody soon. Cheers.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Mel. Cheers.